We're back with former Ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker. Ambassador, so you know Ukraine well, you spent a lot of time there, you know the politics of the country and indeed the politics of that wider region. Back to what we were talking about, is there any sort of a settlement beyond a complete capitulation by Russia, an acknowledgement of Ukraine's borders and an acknowledgement of Ukraine's independence and its freedom to do what it wants? Is there anything short of that that you think would be acceptable to Ukraine?
Yeah, I think there are a couple things that Zelensky has put out there, and I think that those are reasonable as a potential settlement, but it would require Russia to withdraw its forces from Ukraine. Now, what does that mean exactly? Crimea, I think the Ukrainians could probably say that they commit not to retake Crimea by force. They don't agree to its annexation by Russia. They have a long-term desire to see it reincorporated into Ukraine, but they won't take it back by force. That would be one thing. A second would be the Donbass, where I think the Ukrainians are now in a position where they want to say no more. Withdraw your forces from eastern Ukraine, including the parts that you occupied for the last 8 years. After all the shelling, the killing, the civilians displaced, there's no justification for letting Russia come away from this, keeping anything that they shouldn't have. So I don't think they'll do that. Then there's the issue of NATO membership. Zelensky's already come out and said, look, we understand we were not on a fast track to NATO anyway. So we're ready to say that we'll be a neutral country, but we got to have serious security guarantees. Now, in the end of the day, we'll see what happens with that. I think the main reason Zelensky is saying it is because he knows that's not what Putin really cares about. This whole idea that NATO membership for Ukraine was the cause of the war is just a false narrative that Putin has put out there to justify what is really a naked aggression against Ukraine, to take over Ukraine and make it part of a greater Russian empire. So he's exposing that lie.
And Ambassador, from the Russian point of view, Putin started this war with these objectives in mind. He said denazification. Well, we know that's a nonsense, but that essentially amounts to regime change. The recognition of those regions in the Donbass and the broader demilitarization, as he put it, of Ukraine, i.e. recognition that it would never join NATO and never be a threat to Russia. What could he possibly accept that would be short of that wouldn't represent an abject humiliation for Russia?
Well, that's a great question, Jerry, because I don't think there's anything out there that is not already an abject humiliation for Russia. Putin has destroyed at least a quarter of the Russian military so far, and the more they keep going, the more they're going to destroy. And he's driving the Russian economy into the ground thanks to the sanctions in place as a result of his aggression. So he's really out on a limb. I don't think he has a way back. He can't withdraw, claim victory, and then continue to lead Russia. In fact, I'm quite sure that the U.S. and European Union and others will keep sanctions in place. There can't be any relieving of sanctions as long as Putin is in charge. So I'm not sure he has a way out. And it's really for the Russian leadership, the Russian people, to come up with something that is going to be more sustainable than continued Putinism in Russia.
My great thanks to Kurt Volker, former ambassador to NATO.